Hey everyone, welcome back to Nexus. I'm Daisy, and today we're diving into an incredibly thought-provoking topic that touches on everything from global economics to the way we interact with each other every day. It's all about cooperation, how working together can sometimes lead to better outcomes than acting purely out of self-interest. You might be thinking, isn't self-interest the driving force of the economy? Well, let's unpack that and see why cooperation might just be the real key to success. For centuries, economists have championed the idea of self-interest as the engine of economic progress. The famous philosopher and economist Adam Smith once argued that when people act in their own self-interest, they unintentionally contribute to the greater good, what he called the invisible hand of the market. The idea is simple. If everyone is focused on maximizing their own profits or utility, competition will naturally drive efficiency, lower prices, and foster innovation. And sure, in many cases this works. But real life isn't always that straightforward. Take, for instance, situations where people or companies have to make decisions that don't just affect them, but also others around them. In these cases, individual actions can sometimes lead to worse outcomes for everyone involved. Let's break this down with one of the most well-known thought experiments in economics, the prisoner's dilemma. Imagine you and a partner have been caught committing a crime. The police separate you and offer you both a deal. If you both stay silent and cooperate, you both get a light sentence. If one of you betrays the other and confesses while the other stays silent, the betrayer walks free and the other gets a long sentence. But if you both betray each other, you both end up with a moderate sentence. Here's the catch. While the best outcome for both of you is to cooperate and stay silent, the rational, self-interested choice is to betray the other. After all, who wants to risk serving a longer sentence if the other person decides to betray? The dilemma is that, in this case, individual self-interest leads to a worse outcome for both. This is a perfect example of how, when cooperation breaks down, we all lose. So what happens when we do choose to cooperate instead of acting out of pure self-interest? Well, cooperation often leads to outcomes that benefit everyone involved, more so than if each party acted in isolation. First up, efficiency. In business, when companies decide to collaborate instead of competing head-to-head in every area, they can pool resources, share knowledge, and reduce costs. Think of how companies like Apple, Google, and Microsoft sometimes work together in areas like research and development. By cooperating, they can innovate faster and deliver better products. Next, there's trust and reputation building. If you're consistently fair and cooperative in your business dealings, over time, you build trust with your customers, suppliers, and employees. This trust is a powerful tool in the market. Companies with strong reputations for cooperation are often more successful because they're seen as reliable and consistent. In a world where business relationships are built on trust, cooperation can be your most valuable asset. Cooperation also helps with risk sharing. No one likes taking on risk alone, especially when it's too big to handle on your own. In the business world, risk sharing is a huge factor behind partnerships, joint ventures, and collaborations. By joining forces with others, you spread the potential risk, making it more manageable. Think about insurance. We pool our resources to protect ourselves and others against financial loss, and in doing so, we all benefit. And then there's the broader social and economic stability that comes with cooperation. Public goods, things like clean air, education, or national defense, are often non-rivalrous and non-excludable, meaning everyone benefits, whether they contribute or not. But for these goods to exist and be maintained, people need to cooperate. If everyone acted purely out of self-interest and refused to contribute, these public goods would fall apart, leading to a collapse in social order. But what makes people cooperate in the first place, even when it seems like they're sacrificing something for the greater good? Well, it's not just about cold, rational calculations. There are emotional and psychological factors at play. Take altruism, for example. While we might think of humans as selfish, studies show that people often cooperate because they genuinely want to help others. This can be seen in everyday acts of kindness or in larger community efforts where individuals come together to support a cause. Sometimes the joy of helping others outweighs any material gain. There's also the power of reciprocity. We've all heard the saying, "Do unto others as you would have them do unto you." When people cooperate with others, they often expect that same cooperation to come back to them down the road. This principle of reciprocity is deeply embedded in human behavior. When we help others, we create a cycle of cooperation that benefits everyone. Then there's the role of social norms and trust. In communities where norms of fairness and cooperation are strong, people are more likely to work together. If you live in a neighborhood where everyone contributes to keeping things clean or works together to solve local issues, it's easier to see cooperation as the default behavior. In societies with high levels of social capital, those networks of relationships and trust, cooperation is far more likely to thrive. Finally, there's the emotional side of cooperation. Humans aren't purely rational creatures. We're driven by empathy and compassion. When we see others in need, we may feel compelled to help, even if it comes at a cost to ourselves. This emotional aspect of cooperation is one of the key drivers behind charitable giving, volunteer work, and community solidarity. Now, while cooperation is critical in local settings, it's also vital on the global stage. Look at issues like climate change or global health. These aren't problems any single country can solve on its own. They require coordinated global cooperation. The Paris Agreement on climate change, for instance, is a perfect example of how nations around the world must come together to tackle a common issue. Sure, there are short-term sacrifices, but in the long run, the cooperation benefits everyone. After all, we all share the same planet. Similarly, when the COVID-19 pandemic hit, the world saw firsthand how crucial global cooperation is. From sharing resources to developing vaccines, the pandemic showed us that working together is the only way to overcome such a massive challenge. As we look ahead, the need for cooperation will only increase. The global economy is becoming more interconnected, and issues like technological advancement, sustainability, and public health require collective efforts. We need to move beyond the idea that self-interest is the only driver of success and embrace a more cooperative approach. It's not just about doing what's best for ourselves, it's about what's best for everyone. So the next time you're faced with a decision, whether in business or in your personal life, ask yourself, what's the better choice, acting in pure self-interest or finding a way to cooperate? More often than not, cooperation will lead to outcomes that are not only more fulfilling, but also more beneficial in the long term. That's it for today's episode. If you found this video interesting, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Let us know in the comments, do you think cooperation can beat self-interest in today's world? I'd love to hear your thoughts. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time on News Nexus.